So welcome back to the realm of the frightful as Forever Horror Month returns. The chilling ghost story, starring the incredible George C. Scott. This is The Changeling. When John Russell, a composer and music professor, loses his wife and daughter in a tragic accident, he seeks solace and moves into an old mansion left unoccupied for 12 years. Yet the deep hidden history of the house begins to make itself known as unsettling and unnatural occurrences begin to haunt him. He soon realizes that at the heart of all this is a childlike presence that refuses to rest. Through research into the house's past and a seance held within, Russell discovers the house's horrific secret, a secret that the presence will no longer allow to be kept. Now John Russell must finally bring the truth to light in order to let this spirit be put to rest. So I think we can all agree that there's nothing quite like a really good haunted house ghost story, and I feel The Changeling is a very superb, under-recognized gem, even though Martin Scorsese himself listed among his top 11 scariest films of all time, above classics such as Psycho, The Shining, and The Exorcist. And The Changeling comes to us from director Peter Medak, who has a lot of varied credits along TV and film in many different wide genres, doing a lot of primetime dramas over the last 30 years, among other things. And it came with a interesting sort of kind of fun backstory of sorts that story writer Russell Hunter had apparently, supposedly, if you believe the stories or whatnot, had many of these same experiences that are depicted in this film in reality in Denver, Colorado in the 1960s, and supposedly actually recounting a lot of the specific moments that this film shows. And whether or not you want to believe it, it certainly makes for a hell of an interesting backstory to a very excellent horror film. And ultimately the screenplay was written by Diana Maddox and William Gray, who I thought did a very tremendous job writing this whole thing. And overall, everyone does such a remarkable job with such a fantastic, creepy, suspenseful, spooky type of thriller here that I love George C. Scott. Obviously, if you watch my review for Exorcist 3, you know, one of my favorite horror films of all time, and two, high praise for Scott as a fantastic, incredible actor in that film, and in this one as well, does such a tremendous job in the role of John Russell, who, of course, at the beginning of the film has a tragic encounter where his wife and daughter are killed with a traffic wreck. And you really see throughout the whole film how George C. Scott carries that with his character. His performance shows a lot of great emotional vulnerability to it that it's very different from a lot of different roles you might have seen him in, that, like, even in Exorcist 3 or obviously Patton, where he won an Oscar for it, that he is very good with the very commanding, verbose presence, a very strong character. But to see him do the completely different take on things, go for something that is much more deeply troubling and whatnot, character that carries a lot of sadness, a lot of grief around with him, a lot of troubled sorrow and everything, it's just like, he does it so magnificently well in this film. And you just see the fantastic, powerful, emotional range and presence that he brings with his character, that it's just tremendous what he does in this film overall. And it's really great how the film is able to play off of what Scott brings to the role overall, that you do see in moments that he is a very charming guy, very down-to-earth type of gentleman, but there's also that ease that he has going into this film, that into this whole storyline, that the character of John Russell, because probably he has recently lost his wife and daughter, that he really has already a haunted sense about him with the grief and everything that's going on in his emotional state and his psychological state too, that once all these strange occurrences begin to befall him, that he easily begins to believe that there is sort of some manifestation. He's not like the skeptic who's trying to explain away everything through rational means. He's very open to accepting that there's something more paranormal going on, something more supernatural going on. So it's a very interesting thing that the grief of the character, his recent tragedy, plays into everything very strongly with the whole thing, because I'm sure the whole sort of idea behind it is like this spirit is kind of gravitating towards him because of the tragedy he has, to help him motivate him forward to do what he has to do in this film for this spirit. And just the fact that George C. Scott, again, is just a magnificent talent that just brings so much depth and dimension to this character of John Russell, that, again, you feel the sorrow, you feel the grief within him, but there's still moments where he has a little bit of conviction, that he really does bring some of that gravitas and verboseness at moments. But overall, you really get to see a very great depth of humanity in this character. Just the emotional range he brings forth in this role is absolutely fantastic, and it really is the power that brings and motivates us forward through everything else. But also interesting to note that his main co-star in the film was his wife, Trish Van Devere, portrays the character of Claire, who is the sort of real estate agent who hooks him up with the large creepy place. And they do spark off, obviously because they're a married couple, but they just spark off a very good chemistry in this film that shows beautifully on the screen that her character of Claire really does have sort of also a charming sense to her, very sort of heartfelt feelings. But again, you see and feel the fear from both these characters throughout the whole film. There is a terror that is really kind of creeping into them, and they're just, sometimes you see them break down in tears. They're just very powerful scenes for both of these actors in this film that really just galvanize them into such strong talents that really captures your attention, brings you into the emotion of the film, brings you into the terror of the film. You connect with these characters because they're so relatable and so open with their emotions. And Trish Van Devere really just brings a lot of great strong emotions and just a very strong performance overall, that every single actor in this film just brings forth a very solid sensibility to it that holds the tone and characters together in such a tight, strong type of fashion. Can't knock anyone. Everyone in this thing, whether they're a small role or a very pivotal role, do tremendous work in this film. And I think they're all amazingly well directed by Peter Medak, and just like really damn good. Just this makes me even more of a fan of George C. Scott. It's like, if he's done any other horror films, I absolutely want to find them, because so far he's been 1,000 for me. But one of the key components in not only making a very effective horror film, but an exceptionally effective ghost and haunted house story, is a director who can work beautifully with subtlety, that between the cinematography and the sound design and all the little tricks that he uses in this film to really get an audience just having their spine tingling like living hell. He does it masterfully in this film. I had so many chills watching this film again. Whoa, he really hits the nail on the mark. And starting off first with the cinematography in this film, which I thought was absolutely fantastic, that there is such a great elegance and grace with how this film is photographed, that there's so many beautiful camera moves just elegantly moving through a scene, just whether it's a dolly track or a steady cam, just so many great moments where this film just takes you on long rides through this wonderful looking house, which was all built on a soundstage and everything. It's just gorgeous just how this film moves the camera from one place to the next and just creates such a beautiful sense about itself. It's just tremendous. But it's amazing how just the camera work itself can change the whole thing into such an immersive experience, that you have so many great just long takes, just where it's just peering down a long dark corridor, just pushing in slowly on George C. Scott in a very pivotal moment. It just soaked me more into the vibe, the mood and atmosphere this film was going for, and just felt so good. It just goes to show that cutting everything and doing a lot of jump scares and stuff like that, that has nothing on a very well photographed and conservatively edited horror film that just takes the time to build up the suspense, the tension, and just let your imagination kind of take over in certain moments and just start looking into the darkness and just have that soak into you. Just like such great use of just absolute heavy shadows in this film. Just again, so much atmosphere with this, and just like the darker it gets, the more you just get a little bit more tingly or whatnot. Just like your nerves start getting all off the mark and everything. Just like it just how the film is shot just adds so much more to the experience. I just thought how it was photographed and how it was lived in so many sequences was so effective, and just like it just drew me further into the film. But even more so with this film, the soundtrack of this film, how the sound design and the music all comes together, but just mainly the sound effects, how everything creates an atmosphere with just the audio design of this film, with all the little creaking, cracking sounds in the house, the banging pipes in this thing. This is a film that is absolutely begging to be given a glorious Blu-ray HD remaster and just make it beautiful and make it so much more immersive with a great wide range surround track, because this is just begging for, because of how beautiful and just unnerving the sound in this film is. Just the sound effects themselves just draw you in. Even the simple sequence of after they have a seance in the film and John Russell just sitting there listening to the tape over and over again, and you hear the little whispers or whatnot that you didn't hear the first time, and just the ghost speaking out. It's like these simple little things, just how things just tweak the nerves and everything, with just how it sounds. Just like, man, this film just gets it on every single point. I loved how this film was just put together in that type of way as well. Just absolutely fantastic. But overall, the scares in this film just, I've watched this film before just a couple months ago, and just like watching it again, it's like there's sequences just like right now the hairs on my arm are standing up. There are moments in this film that are just absolutely just creepy as hell, and they're so simple. This film doesn't go for something so complex to scare you. Just like the simplest thing to just spook the crap out of you is so effective. I really don't want to spoil much, but just like this moment where the John Russell, his daughter's little ball that he kind of kept as a keepsake, whatnot, ends up falling down the stairs. Happens twice, and the second time it happens, it's even more scary because of what happens in between the two moments. Just like, don't want to spoil a damn thing because it's so good. Seeing these moments or whatnot, just it's so creepy. Oh man, just like had me tingling, had me just like rubbing the back of my neck. It was tense. It was just like, man, this movie really just got me right on the edge of my nerves, man. There are just moments where they just use few little moments here where they use some very memorable type of imagery, just like spooky visuals. I mean, simple moments of just a door opening in the background and there's no one behind it, so you know there's just something else going on. Just the fact that this film uses, again, the subtlety, the atmosphere, subtle build-up of everything, just everything it does, especially with the score from Rich Wilkins. I really liked what I heard with this score, man, because it has definitely a certain 70s type of feel in a certain way. There's just such a rich and stirring quality to the score overall that just, it has a beauty, it has an elegance, but also has so much of a bombast to it, like scenes where like the doors are slamming all over the house and just begins to unnerve you. It just gets woven so tightly into the fiber of this storyline and everything else that's going on throughout the whole film. It's just like, it's such a beautiful score overall that just has so much breadth and depth to it that I thought was just amazing work. And unfortunately, the soundtrack has been giving a very limited release, about 1,000 copies many years ago. So if you ever get a chance to obtain it, I would definitely recommend it. But it probably won't be easy to find, but it's absolutely worthwhile because it just is a fantastic piece of work. But talking about the story of this film overall, that there is a lot of great qualities to it, that it is part ghost story, part haunted house, and part murder mystery, because you're trying to go along with the character of John Russell throughout this whole thing, starting off with his tragedy in life, trying to recover from it, and getting sucked into this whole sort of another tragedy that happened decades prior to unravel this whole mystery going on with the haunting and all this other stuff. So it's a very interesting interwoven type of storyline that you definitely see so much emotion going on, so much terror and fear. Certain different people are linked together through putting the pieces together of this mystery, this murder that happened, and just comes together in such a great package overall. The writing is really superb, that everything is brought together in such a interesting and intriguing type of way that you are brought into the story. You remain attentive with the intrigue and the mystery overall, because the characters are so well written and they're so very well performed that you're attached to these characters and you see them go along in this mystery and experiencing the terror throughout this whole storyline, that you just get sucked into it and just keep on with it, even when things kind of pull back from the terror and the horror and everything and go more into the intrigue of the mystery and everything, try to unravel it and bring all that stuff to a head, so it still wraps itself up in a very interesting type of way that it really delivers so much on chills and scares, and just every single one is so earned. I just like, there's so many moments again in this film that just wrap me up so tightly and just so well executed overall. And man, I just really enjoyed this film. That again, I just discovered this within the last year and just watched it just a few months ago, and just like, this is definitely one of my top horror films of all time. This is definitely a film that I'm probably going to rewatch on a yearly basis, because it is so well done with a fantastic lead actor, and just like the scares get you, man. They choke me up. They get the hairs standing on end. Man, it's so effective. And just like, I love a horror film that can play on your imagination, that it can just draw things out long enough for your imagination to kick in and start thinking about what is going on, what the terror is and the darkness. And because it is a ghost story, you don't tend to see a whole lot, so your imagination plays in an even more amplified, enhanced type of fashion to really just get you just tingling and wrapped up and tightened up muscles and everything. Just like, so damn good. If you really, really enjoy a good haunted house or ghost story, this should be on the top of your watch list right now to watch it if you have not done so. And I did end up discovering this partly because of the fantastic guys at the Forgotten Flicks podcast in their 2014 Spooky Flicks Fest. They did a fantastic little short episode on it that I highly implore you to go listen to, because the guys hosting also have some very nice real life ghost stories of their own. Really fun stuff. Fantastic podcast. I love it like living hell. Definitely highly recommend you guys checking that out. But The Changeling, man, it is a really damn good movie. Great way. This is how I wanted to start off the new Forever Horror Month this year, because high on my list, and it's really gonna get you in the mood. Really, really so. But if you have seen The Changeling, I would definitely highly be interested to hear what you guys think and feel about this film. If you've not seen it, I would definitely like to hear what you guys feel are your favorite and the best sort of haunted house or ghost films that you've ever seen. And definitely be back with a whole host of great content here this month. I am jacked up to get some really good stuff to you guys. So thanks for watching, guys. If you really enjoyed this review and want to see more Forever Horror Month reviews, thumbs up on the video to show how much you like it, and especially circulating some links around. And if you've not subscribed already, highly deeply appreciate it. And I love doing Forever Horror Month. So thanks, guys, for watching. Take care, and more spooky action and creeps coming your way. So take care.